Mai. We do have live French interpretation for those of you who require listening to the session in French, so you can go to that channel. And we do hope in future to have other language interpretations live as well. All right, over to you, Chinmay.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. Definitely about the instructions we will be following for the session today. And
Sheena, I think your audio needs to be a bit louder. Sorry.
Sorry.
Fantastic.
Is it okay now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I welcome everyone. As Jessica already introduced, why are we here today and how we will be engaging in the session today. So I'll just take a couple of minutes to have a brief introduction about the session, about the program, and the wonderful sharer we have today. So, yeah. And thank you so much, though I know it's a working day for all of you and you're joining. So thank you so much again for joining us today. So, okay, what Let's Connect is, as all of you must be aware of since you are here, and I hope you all are the registered members on Let's Connect. So the Let's Connect peer learning program and the learning culture in Wikimedia movement aims to foster the collaboration, knowledge sharing, and personal growth within the communities. It is a platform where participants come together to exchange ideas, experiences, and learn best practices. It serves as a space for individuals to connect, network, and build relationships with each other and with similar interests, goals. And during these sessions and learning clinics, participants engage and discuss. They take small trainings and other interactive activities to enhance their understanding of various Wikimedia projects and initiatives, and the community dynamics as well. Within this learning culture, there is an emphasis on sharing knowledge openly and transparently. Participants are encouraged to document their experiences, insights, and lessons learned, in which could be beneficial for others. That's why we have several links followed by the sessions. You can just go to the links and map your responses. In a brief summary, so Let's Connect is a learning culture in the Wikimedia movement, which promotes connection, collaboration, and personal development. By providing spaces for networking and knowledge sharing, the movement enables community members to learn from each other, improve their skills, and work together in achieving the goals. And as you are aware, we have this session today. So why are we here today? Almost all of us are. Yes.
Sorry, your slides aren't moving. Just in case you were on a different slide, we're still seeing the first yellow one.
Okay.
Yes. Fantastic.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Jessica. Okay. So why are we here today? So all of us heard the term policies in Wikiverse somewhere. Some of us know it and some of us wonder what are these. So safety policies are the paramount importance in our organizations and communities, including the Wikimedia movement. This is because they help us to understand a safe and secure environment for all the contributors, allowing them to freely express their ideas, collaborate, and contribute. In the context of Wikimedia, policies and code of conducts help us prevent and respond to incidents such as bullying, doxing, online harassment, discrimination, and other forms of misconduct. By establishing clear guidelines and protocols, the movement can promote a culture of respect, diversity, and inclusion, while it can protect our rights and well-being at the same time. And the session will be focused on personal strategies for healthy work environment, how to use the friendly space policies, universal code of conduct, and COC, like in technical spaces, to use of the available resources in our local context, finding solutions to our challenges. These will be the takeaways from today's sessions. And to introduce our wonderful sharer today, dear Let's Connectors, it's my happiness and honor to introduce our lovely sharer today, Mrs. Christel Steigenberger, who is a global leader and trainer. She started her Wikimedia journey as a volunteer in 2014 and laid the incredible path of working for Wikimedia Foundation for last 6 years as a staff of the Trust and Safety team. She mostly contributes to German language Wikipedia and Wikimedia Commons, where she also solves the potential role of an administrator. She shares all these years of experience has helped us get insights into international movement in a broader way and have enriched her life beyond anything she had dreamed of. She always had a keen interest in the community aspects of the movement and dedicated her career to fostering healthy community practices and inclusive work environments. With a deep understanding of the challenges focused in ASAP regions and Asian communities, our sharer brings a wealth of expertise in cultivating the atmosphere that promotes collaboration, creativity, and protects our well-being. Her passion in building the supporting work culture within the Wikimedia movement has inspired countless individuals, including me, to teach ourselves better potentials. Please join me on giving a warm welcome to our exceptional sharer today. We welcome you, Christel, to the session. Over to you, Christel.
Thank you so much for this introduction. I'm very, very happy to be here and see people from so many different parts of the movement attend this session. Because as you said, I'm passionate about the topic of community health. I'm very passionate about helping all of us work together in a way that we feel happy doing the work. Being a Wikipedian is a volunteer thing. So while it is something important for the world that we contribute good content, that we do the things that all of us do, share knowledge, share pictures, write code, it's also important that it is something that is fulfilling for us and that we are happy doing. But to get more into the topic, could you perhaps switch to the next slide, Gino?
Yes, I will. Just before that, we will have a quick look on the agenda we are going to follow today.
Right, so yes, I think that's back to you again.
There will be the section structure like this. Yes. Yes. So we will first have a icebreaker, which will be of 10 minutes. Then followed by that, we will follow this breakout room structure. And and we will learn for the tips and good practices from the global event spaces for our own well-being and best learnings. Then there will be a reflection exercise, and we will be proceeding to the question and answer session. So coming to what just Christel is looking for here.
So actually not just me, but Gino and me together have prepared a bit of an icebreaker, and I think we have agreed to do it all together in the session. We want you to start thinking about the topic by remembering a success story that you had, something that you remember as a success story that really stands out to you as something you did or you experienced during your work on Wikimedia projects. Was there anyone, and if you remember this story, if you remember this success you had or that success you witnessed, was there anyone or anything in particular that played a role in achieving that success? And Gino, I think the way we do it is that everyone can write down their success story on the Padlet, right?
Yes.
So please.
They can just follow the link and okay, let me show you. I just okay. So this is how the Padlet landing page looks like. And we have mapped the columns on questions. You can just click on the plus sign and add your response in forms of text, in forms of image. You can add GIFs and other funny responses as well. So please feel free to use this link and move to mark your responses. Or if anybody is having any difficulty posting it on the Padlet, you can just put your response in the chat and we will move it to the Padlet.
And I already see also a first answer in the chat. That's also fine. So reading that Wikidata was the greatest joy, the most joy for someone. And again, there would also be the question, is there anything or anyone in particular that played a role in this success? Why Wikidata was the most joy?
I see there are responses on the Padlet itself. What success story stands out to the most during your work in your project? Okay. Having 70% of participants complete a training and get certified at the end of a wiki program I led. Oh, that is wonderful. Hatching a wiki.
Suyash, I see your question.
Okay,
I
all
can't.
right. Those who already responded.
I was just,
Go ahead, Christel.
I saw that Suyash asks if his input is visible, but we can't confirm because the input on the other on the Padlet is anonymous. So you would have to tell us what you put in so we can confirm if you want to do that. Gino? You go ahead.
Yes. Okay, so I was just telling that those who have already responded to the first question, you can move ahead to the second column on the Padlet and paste your response. Was there anyone or anything in the particular that played a role in achieving that success? Your success story. Hi, Saini. Thanks for joining. So we are just done with a quick round of introduction. Why were we here and what are we going to discuss? So basically, this is learning what are the policies, safety policies, and code of conducts we have online available, and how to utilize them in our local context. And now we are on an icebreaker activity. So these are the questions highlighted on the Padlet. You can just mark your responses on those, or you can type it in chat and we will move it to the Padlet. And the questions. Okay. All right. Maybe we can just have 1 more minute and we will close the activity and we'll move back. I see everybody putting their response in the first question. What success stories stands out to the most during your work in Wikimedia project? But I see this empty field for the second question. Was there anyone or anything particular that played a role in achieving that success?
I think you have to refresh your screen. Yeah.
Yes, I just did. I realized.
We're adding things to the second too.
Hello.
Hi, Hussaini.
All right, I just want to respond to is it first, second, or second questions that is talking about if you have anybody that helps you to achieve the success in doing Wikimedia projects. Is it the first question or second?
That is the second question. It's not just, is there anybody, but also are there things? There could be, I got my new laptop. That's the moment when I could really do work because I finally had, a good working device. Things like that could also be on that second list. Or I got these wonderful research books. And since I have those books, I can write the articles I'm interested in.
All right. So my response to that question is like that. So can I just speak it out without writing on the chat box? Hello?
Yes, please do so.
All right. I have somebody that introduced the Wikipedia and Wikimedia projects to me, and I immediately signed off that moment. And after the event, like 2 or 3 months, he started seeing that I'm doing good. I know how to create an article on Wikipedia. I learned about how to upload an image on Wikicommons without his knowledge. He did not teach me that. I use my own way of learning, and I learn all these things myself without anybody in my side. That man, when he realized that I can do better than him, he threw me away. He disliked to see me doing anything in Wikimedia. And I tell myself that I can do it. And I do it. I started attending programs, online programs, any programs that will help somebody to learn about any Wikimedia project, either Wikidata, Wikicommons, Wikicode, or whatever. I attended all the trainings, so I learned a lot of things myself. So from there, that man even deleted my phone number. When I called him, he did not pick the call. He did not answer my questions. So he threw me away automatically. So, but I have computer, I have books, and I have the internet is available on my area. So I started learning every day, learning every day, learning. As I'm speaking to you now, the success I got, I attended so many online programs. I won some Wikipedia contests where I received some swags and gifts. I also now in our country, I happen to be among the grants committee review. So that man was shocked. Now, how can this man be doing all these things? So a lot of stories. So I think this is what I want to share with you at this moment. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing. I think we have a lot of other stories as well on the Padlet. But Jeannie, you said something that we would be moving on soon to the next exercise or to the next part of the session.
Yes, yes. So now we will learn what is this topic about for today's sessions. And Christel, you will be leading this. You will be exploring different approaches and listening to participants from their shows. Over to you, Christel.
So I think the exercise and also the story that we just heard already kind of brought us into the topic of what helps us have a good feeling when we contribute to the Wikipedia projects. And I wanted to start with, I called this a good or a positive working atmosphere or working environment. We find all those terms more or less synonymous if we look up things about a good working atmosphere. And I wanted to start as a good Wikipedian with a definition of what is a good working atmosphere. And I found that it's not so easy. There are a lot of definitions that, are only to a clear workplace environment. But I found one that I think we can use, and that is the one from the University of Michigan that I put on the slide. So the University of Michigan says positive work environments can be defined as those workplaces where there is trust, cooperation, safety, risk-taking support, accountability, and equity. And I thought about how can we take these things, or what is there in the Wikipedia context? How can we look at this definition from the perspective as Wikimedians? So I think cooperation is kind of the core idea of the Wikimedia projects. We don't do things just by ourselves, but we all contribute together to the projects. And one person might be the best photographer, another person might be very good in researching, another person might be really good in fixing grammar mistakes, fixing errors. So cooperation is at the heart of the Wikimedia projects. We also have a rule about risk-taking support. It sounds a bit funny, but at least on English Wikipedia and a lot of other projects, we have this rule of be bold. And I also hear this repeated in a lot of conversations on Wiki discussions. We tell each other to just try things because you can't break the Wiki is another sentence that we hear a lot. If you do something wrong, we can just revert the edit and things will be working again. So there is risk-taking support. Sometimes communities kind of lose this be bold, and don't worry, you're not a real Wikimedian before you haven't broken the wiki once. It's also something I heard a lot of times, but that is there in the Wikimedia projects. Accountability also is something that is very deeply embedded in the wiki structures, because we have this high level of transparency, because every edit is tracked. It's tracked who made it at what time, so we can always go back. And through this, accountability is very high on the Wikimedia projects. Safety and trust are things that are never just there. Safety and trust are things we have to recreate again and again. And in a similar way, it is with equity. So working to build trust and safety and working to build more equity, I think these are the things that we all have to strive for. And I'm just seeing in the chat the comment of accountability is the most absent in our movement. And I have an idea where this thought comes from. Yes, sometimes even though it's transparent who did something and we could hold some people accountable, certain groups don't hold these people accountable. I think we've also heard the story of the unblockables on English Wikipedia. That is one way where accountability might not be met. So yes, while there is a certain part of accountability is inbred in the movement through the transparency, it's also a stretch goal that we have to aspire to again and again. The same with cooperation. We have people who just want their article to stand there and not be touched, or who on comments who get very mad if someone changes categories even on their images and says, this is my image. This is not the category I wanted on that image. Yes, it isn't always there the way we want it, but there are a lot of, the basis for cooperation, risk-taking, support, and accountability is clearly part of our movement. And we need to work together on this to make it reality. This is what a lot of the rules and policies we will be talking a bit later in the session are all about. But before we come to that, let's go to the next slide, please. So I talked about aspiring goals. I talked about making trust something that comes into really reality, to make safety something that is actually on the wikis, equity. And I see that we have two things that help us reach those goals. I already talked about the rules and the policies, and we will talk about this later. But there are also things that every one of us can do by themselves. How I can create my own positive work environment, how you can create your own positive work environment in that space that you hold for yourself. And where each one of us can contribute and make a difference, of course, for themselves, but by making a difference for how safe, how good I feel, how healthy I feel in my work environment, will also have an impact on others on the projects. So please think about how can you bring your own positive attitude and a good mental state to the wiki. What can you do? Can you decide to be working on the wiki when you are already stressed, mad? Or can you decide to take a break, to breathe, to perhaps have something to eat, to drink, and then come back to the wiki when you are in a better mental state. And now I've lost the slides, Gino.
Yes, just 2 minutes.
As I already said, what you can do is to know the policies that are related to good collaboration, like the UCoC or the friendly space policy or the code of conduct for the technical spaces. That is something that you can also do, and you can help others to understand and to adhere to such policies and take action if such policies are breached. I want you now to think about what is helpful for yourself for that first question that I talked about more. What is helpful that you can maintain a positive attitude? How can you bring your best self to the wiki? Are there any material things? Are there things like, you know, doing something else, another hobby that helps you come to Wikipedia with a good, positive attitude? Do you have people who help you, like the story we heard before in that icebreaker exercise? Are there other things that have been useful for you to maintain a positive atmosphere? And for this exercise, we will go again into reflection mode. And Gino, if you could switch to the next slide. Because we have another Padlet, and we would like you to go there and answer those questions. The main question really is, what is helpful for yourself to come to the wikis with a positive attitude and to maintain that positive attitude, to be happy on the wikis and to spread happiness on the wikis is another way to put this. And please answer those questions on the Padlet.
Just a quick reminder for those using the Padlet. You can also add in the chat, but I just wanted to show you how to use the Padlet. It's very fun and creative, so you don't always have to write. You can also use images or links. So you can just add here the +1, the plus button. You can write a heading to say here, so I can thank Christel for this reflection. I can add even a photo of myself if I want. And I publish. So you can also add a link. You can draw. You can add a song if you want. You can add a GIF. You can add a YouTube video, or you can just write something that you want to share.
And I have lost a bit the look on the time. So Jessica and Gino, if you both could help me to, just find the right time for this exercise.
We are on time, Christel.
Yeah, we'll give people a few more minutes to share their ideas. If you're having difficulties with the Padlet, you can write in the chat. Thanks, Florence, for adding there to the chat, and we will put it on the Padlet to share some of the ideas coming up. So we'll give 2 more minutes for people to reflect and add their ideas.
So perhaps 1 more minute, and then I will try to summarize a bit, but also invite people to speak up who think they either saw something super important or wrote something super important themselves. And I think someone is drawing.
Yes, Christel, you can move ahead with the responses and discussions.
Wonderful. I would like to invite 1 or 2 people to share the most important thing that they see on the Padlet at the moment. Something that stands out that you think is just the most impactful thing that you can read that is helpful to maintain a positive attitude, that is useful. in maintaining a positive atmosphere. Anyone who wants to share something? Nanur, please go ahead.
It's me. Yes, hello everyone. Yes, actually, one of the things that could help anyone is to be with the people that can understand you and work with them, and especially when we are on the top of a problem or anything, that not try to be with the or contact with everyone, just only the people that the most that you can trust, and do something with them. So this will help very well actually to go forward and continue your volunteering and contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we see several posts that speak to a similar thing. At the moment I saw, now it's just scrolled away, building good contact within your community, but also letting go of the negative energy and toxic people within the community. I saw more similar posts. So yes, that is one really important aspect. To have something like a support network is also something that I saw. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Anyone else who wants to share something? I don't see any more raised hands. So I would like to point out that we had a lot of posts that spoke to more abstract concepts like tolerance, respect, inspire. And I think these things are very important. But we also had, and I think that's very good to look at, what are the more concrete things. So we had several posts speaking about in-person meetings, connections in general with other editors. We already had that in the way that Nanur explained, but also the way you can just learn from other people's experience and get inspiration from them. But we also had things like, at the moment we see the dashboard training. We have a lot about communication. And I wanted to point out one post in, that's just coming up. If you scroll further down, the appreciation part, there were also several posts about this. So saying things to each other, communicating in a way that shows, yes, what you do is important, I appreciate that, but also giving small hints about how can you improve things. That is something that has helped me a lot, and especially in putting those two things together. Another post I wanted to point out is on the other column, and it's one of the few that speaks about the place where are you sitting. There's one that says having something like a nice desk with my cutie. So having actually a space where you sit and you feel comfortable, where the lighting is right, perhaps also where you get something nice to drink and you have something like the cutie, something that you want to look at, where you feel at home, perhaps you sit in a good chair. I haven't seen a lot about this. How do I set up my own workspace otherwise? But that also is very important. But moving on from this reflection exercise, perhaps we could look at the slides again that talk about rules, because we also want to look a bit into how do we do this collaboration thing. We had in these reflections a lot also about rules. And I already talked about the different global regulations that we have, policies. And this is the most of the way how the organizations around the Wikimedia projects contribute to create a positive work environment. So there is the Universal Code of Conduct. We already talked about this. I think you also got sent links with the invite to the Universal Code of Conduct, the Friendly Space Policy, the Code of Conduct for Technical Spaces. And there are more policies like the Oversight Policy, the Friendly Expectations in the Grant Space, the Global Ban Policy. So we have a lot of rules and regulations, but go to the next slide, please. Sometimes it's really confusing. We have on the local, please wait a bit with the next breakout room. Why do we have so many different policies? It's confusing. We also have policies on the local level. But the different policies are for different spaces. And the UCoC is the basis for all of them that applies everywhere. They all talk about very similar things. And the movement is in the process of making sure they all align with the UCoC. And of course, if there aren't any local policies, you can create them on the basis of the UCoC. The most important common topics for the different policies, and that's the next slide, is that they all encourage the same kind of behavior. And it's the things you already put up on the Padlet: respect, cooperation, helping others. Collegiality is what the UCoC calls it. So working together to create a good working atmosphere is in all of those policies. And basically all the policies talk also about the things we should not do that are forbidden. So harassment is forbidden by all those policies. Discrimination because of who you are or who others think you are is forbidden. Personal attacks are something that are forbidden in all policies that have to do with behavior. Sexualized behavior and violating privacy are other parts that are discouraged, forbidden, heavily forbidden through these policies. And all of those policies also have some information of what you can do, where you can report if those policies are breached. And it's really good to look at those policies again under these three aspects. What does the Universal Code of Conduct encourage? What behavior is the one that fosters a good working atmosphere that is described in the policy? What are behaviors that are discouraged or forbidden exactly because they will not help us have a good working atmosphere? And what can I do? What can other Wikimedians do if people don't adhere to the policies? And with that, I would like to invite you to another, and thank you for posting the Universal Code of Conduct, Gino. I would like to invite you to another exercise, and I would like you to talk amongst each other in breakout rooms, so in smaller groups, about the important questions that you can now see on the slide. I talked about those general global policies, but there are also local policies. So I would like you to compare. Does your local project, does your affiliate have a code of conduct? Do you know that? And if you know it, does it work the way it was intended to work? Is it helpful? And do you know personally what to do if there are violations of one of the policies? So either one of the global policies that I mentioned before, the friendly space policies for the in-person meetings, the technical code of conduct for the technical areas, and the universal code of conduct for basically every space, the local policies. Do you know what to do if there are violations of one of the policies? There is also a Padlet for that, and that Gino already posted. And I think now we're going to go into the breakout rooms. You will be invited to join a breakout room, and please discuss those questions in the room. We will afterward meet again, and please also think about one person should represent or present to the group everything that was talked about in the breakout room. So choose a representative, talk about the questions, and as soon as you can, as soon as you see the prompt, join the breakout room.
Thank you, Christel. For those that require French interpretation, so I see Renee and Constance in the call, I will bring you back to the main room, and some of you to the main room to join as a breakout room. Okay, so we'll just take a few minutes whilst we settle into the rooms. Shinu will be in room 1, helping facilitate, and Christel in room 2. So I'm going to open the rooms now, and we'll just wait a few more minutes whilst we settle into the rooms to start discussing.
Okay, Jessica, there is one request from Anthony not to add the Wiki Advocate Philippines group to any breakout rooms, as they are already physically present in a room and they're having their discussion. So let's not add them to breakout rooms, but rest of all can join.
Okay, we're a small room here. Anas, are you good for interpretation? If you can just give me a message on the chat. And Constance or Renee, if you can confirm that you can hear me in French. Oui. Okay. Fantastic.
Bonjour tout le monde, ouais, j'entends, j'écoute, merci.
Okay, I'm just going to share here again the Padlet. And I'll share my screen so we can look at the questions. Okay, so for those of you who are joining, we're in a breakout room now. You can stay here in the main room where we have some French speakers and English speakers in the room. And the idea is that we take about 15 minutes to have a discussion around these three questions. So, does our local project or affiliate have a code of conduct? And does it work as it's intended to work? So I'll open the floor to anybody who wants to share. Constance, Renee, I see also Radhika, Bhaskar on the call. What does it look like in your local group? Do we have a code of conduct? You can just raise your hand or open your mic. Okay, Renee, go ahead. To listen to Renee in English, please use the interpretation button and you can go and to the English channel to listen to her. Go ahead, Renee.
D'accord. Déjà dans les groupes, ok, merci. Dans les groupes, généralement, le code de conduite ne se fait pas réellement savoir. C'est plus on travaille plus sur des projets. Donc, c'est un peu difficile pour des contributeurs de savoir de connaître l'existence du code de conduite et son application dans les communautés. Je parle beaucoup plus du cas du Cameroun, quoi. Donc, il faudrait peut-être trouver des sessions pour les groupes en fait, de sensibiliser sur l'existence du code de conduite, quoi. Donc, c'est assez important. Je pense que dans la plupart des pays également, c'est le cas en Afrique. Je ne parle pas pour tout le monde. Je laisserai l'occasion aux autres de partager leur expérience là-dessus. Merci.
Renee, can I ask you why you think there hasn't been a code of conduct? And what would be needed to start writing one for the local Cameroon community?
Non, je ne pense pas qu'il n'y a pas. Généralement, c'est le code de conduite général qui est demandé d'être lu par les contributeurs. Et il faudrait, par exemple, que ces contributeurs soient assez expérimentés ou bien participent très souvent à des sessions en ligne comme celle-ci pour savoir qu'il existe, par exemple, un code de conduite, quoi.
Thank you. I see Bukola's hand is raised. Go ahead, Bukola.
Okay, yeah, so I just wanted to make my own contribution. So the UCoC and even the other policies that are embedded within the UCoC they are not something that is really well known and even understood by most people. Just like Renelle has said, I think there is a need to really help people understand the use of these policies so that when their rights are violated, they know they know who to approach and they know how to go through the proper steps to really ensure that their voices are heard. So I feel like even though, just like you said, that in the African community, what they do mostly is they try to include friendly space policy in proposal writing and all that. But in the actual sense, even sometimes when you are holding both online meeting and physical meeting, they don't talk about these policies. They just go ahead and they start training and they be like, oh, today we have this project and these are the activities lined up that we need to work on. So I think there should be like special sessions to hold conversation regarding UCoC so that people are aware, are better informed, and they know how to apply these policies. So that's like what I want to say concerning this questions.
Great, fantastic. I was just trying to register your points there, Bukola, on the Padlet. And I see Constance wanted to speak. A reminder, we can listen to Constance in English by going to the English channel.
Oui. Bonjour et merci beaucoup pour l'opportunité qu'on nous donne aujourd'hui. Et je pense que la communauté de mon pays nous ne sommes pas encore bien organisés en fait. Il y a un grand problème qui fait que la communauté du Bénin n'est pas encore bien organisée, ce n'est pas encore bien structuré. Du coup, quand il y a une activité, oui, ou bien quand il y a quelques bénévoles qui mènent des activités, l'accent est généralement mis sur l'objectif à atteindre. Je parle plus des campagnes, l'objectif à atteindre, les gens sont plus focalisés sur cela. C'est vrai qu'on aborde l'histoire des codes de conduite et tout, hein, mais bon, on aborde simplement les codes de conduite universels qui s'imposent quand même à tous les bénévoles normalement. Mais de façon spécifique pour le contexte béninois, il n'y a pas de code de conduite et je pense même que c'est le grand problème qui se pose parce que cette manière de procéder fait en sorte que les bénévoles qui viennent nouvellement dans le mouvement ne restent pas longtemps parce que je pense que les bénévoles ont très, très peu d'informations. C'est vrai que j'y travaille beaucoup pour que les trucs changent, mais pour le contexte du Bénin, j'aime plus parler du Bénin parce que c'est ce que je maîtrise le mieux. Pour le contexte du Bénin, les trucs ne sont pas encore bien organisés pour que les contributeurs qui participent aux campagnes, aux événements et puissent dire que oui, et au Bénin, nous avons réellement un code de conduite. Donc, c'est ce que je tenais à dire. Allez, merci.
Right, so I get from the group that we're not seeing a local version of these policies or an understanding of how they should be implemented and prioritized in each space that we have. So maybe I'd like to move on to the last question. How can we get this started? So what would be needed to start thinking of this local policy? Who could start work on that? Any ideas? Yes, Constance.
Pour le contexte du Bénin, j'ai commencé par mener une démarche énorme en fait parce que depuis des années, je constate qu'il n'y a pas de conversation entre réellement ceux qui organisent les activités pour qu'on puisse s'asseoir et parler, donner des directives nettes. Donc, du coup, depuis quelques mois, j'ai commencé par mener un truc énorme afin d'obliger les gens maintenant à ce qu'on s'asseye. Et je pense avoir notifié cela à Véronica et puis à AFCOM. Parce que quand on ne se met pas ensemble, j'ai suscité plusieurs rencontres pour qu'on puisse mieux entamer les trucs parce que les trucs se faisaient de façon éparpillée. Et j'ai l'impression que je ne suis pas écouté. Alors, maintenant, l'objectif, c'est que l'administration ou bien la structure qui s'occupe de cela puisse nous mettre ensemble et nous imposer quand même l'échange parce que je constate que c'est la communication qui pose problème dans ma communauté. Donc, c'est un peu cela. Merci.
Thanks, Constance. That's a really interesting point. So what I hear from you is that you'd need support from staff, from Foundation, from AFCOM, to be able to mediate some of these conversations locally and start discussing the importance of policy. And I think that that's an important thing. It can't be left only to organizers on a local level if there are issues that need to be resolved as a group to be able to discuss these policies, if I understand correctly. So outside support is also needed. I'm seeing Renee added here to the chat. Renee, do you want to voice your opinion there to the group?
Ok, merci. Pour moi, il est question de trouver, un peu comme dans le sens de Constant, de trouver du temps déjà s'il existe en fait, parce qu'en Afrique, chez nous ici, suivant la réglementation, on se base plus sur les règlements intérieurs. C'est les règlements intérieurs qui font office comment je vais dire, de politique, de vivre ensemble. En fait, c'est des documents qui aident à la vie ensemble, en fait, c'est le texte de loi en fait, qui régit la vie en communauté. Donc, il y a des mesures prises dans les règlements intérieurs très souvent pour la vie ensemble et peut-être voir des sanctions. Donc, il serait important de mettre le code de conduite, de mettre un accent de baser en fait le règlement intérieur sur le code de conduite, quoi. Et également trouver un moment dans les groupes locaux pour communiquer là-dessus, apprendre aux uns et aux autres de quoi il est réellement question. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Renee. I think that's a really important point, is how we're talking about behavioral issues, and it's important that this fits into the local laws. So understanding the local laws to see if there's a violation, what steps can be taken within the local laws. And also, you mentioned the time consideration. And it's interesting because we're going to have a learning clinic with Wikimedia Netherlands that actually did the work of adapting the Universal Code of Conduct to their local policy. And it takes a lot of time. So what happens when groups don't have staff members who can dedicate the time? What can they do in their volunteer time? I think that's a really important discussion. And what's the minimum that we need to do so we can have a local policy and implement it, knowing that most people are working as volunteers? I think that's a big challenge. Anybody else would like to share? I see we have Bukola on the line.
Je pourrais également ajouter, si c'est possible.
Of course, René, go ahead.
D'accord. Au niveau des pays, on observe majoritairement ces derniers temps des groupes de travail. Il serait peut-être intéressant pour la fondation de mettre un accent ou bien de prendre des groupes de travail comme des pilotes sur les questions à mettre en pratique dans des user groups. Ça pourra aider d'un point de vue, en fait, ça pourra permettre à ces groupes de monter en compétences et d'être mieux structurés que des groupes des user groups ou bien des affiliés qui sont déjà, on va dire, expérimentés. Donc, c'est mieux de commencer avec des débutants, des personnes qui ont peu d'expérience dans la vie communautaire du mouvement. Et ça les aidera davantage. Merci.
Yes, Bukola.
Okay, I just wanted to add to this. So talking about the part that says what would be needed, I think there have been previous discussions on UCoC with different affiliates and user groups. And from my own understanding, I feel like these people do not always pass across whatever the conversation has been to their community members, because I would say that the first thing is to hold people accountable for some of the discussions that they've had previously. Like what has been heard previously, what was the outcome? Were they able to discuss these recommendations and findings from previous meetings with their community members? If yes, how did these people respond to the outcome of this discussion? I think if we go through this way, we would know the next steps to take, and we will know how best to approach whatever initiative we want to embark on moving forward. Because if we continue these discussions of having meetings, holding, having working groups, and at the end of the day, it doesn't bring forth any positive impact or that could really help the community members, I think we'll just keep moving in cycles. So that's just my own contribution. So the first thing is that these working group members or user groups are held accountable. They can really communicate what they have, whatever meeting or conversation they have had previously with their community members, and then see if their interest, the interests of the members really align with the previous discussion. And I think that's the only way we can get to even think of coming up with a local policy. So yeah, that's just it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bukola. So what I'm hearing from you, if I understood correctly, is trying to move these discussions forward and holding people accountable, particularly leadership from user groups. If they've had discussions with communities, how did this align with community interests? What decisions were made? how do we then register these decisions and think of the next steps? What actions are going to be taken? So this doesn't stay in discussions and meetings, but we actually have tangible actions to be taken, and that there are people accountable for implementing these. Is that correct?
Yes, very correct.
Okay, I'm trying to get all your ideas on the Padlet, so just make sure I'm not getting it wrong.
Yeah, it's actually correct, and I would have done it myself, but I think it's best to just express yourself, and yeah.
Fantastic. No, thank you very much, Bukola. Constance, you have your hand up?
Oui, oui, oui. Je peux parler?
Yes.
Oui, d'accord. Je pense que le grand problème au niveau de l'Afrique francophone, c'est l'opacité, en fait, des informations. C'est ça le grand problème. Et je pense que j'étais même interpellé, Jessica, en disant que l'opacité des informations au niveau de l'Afrique francophone pose réellement problème. Parce que quand vous voyez que c'est les mêmes personnes qui sont à la tête des user groups depuis des années, refusent de quitter la tête des user groups pour donner la possibilité aux nouveaux d'entrer dans le mouvement, vous comprenez largement qu'il y a un problème qui se passe. Et quand il faut recueillir les informations, quand ceux qui sont responsables des user groups, je parle plus de l'Afrique francophone et je parle plus du Bénin, ceux qui sont responsables des user groups, des communautés, quand ceux-là constatent que vous êtes en divergence avec eux, les personnes ne vous consultent même plus pour recueillir les informations parce que les personnes savent que vous serez en contradiction. Donc, l'opacité des user groups pose un grand problème. Et encore, quand vous constatez, quand vous voyez, tout le problème qui se pose dans la communauté, ce n'est pas deux choses. C'est que certains pensent que les user groups, c'est leur patrimoine, qu'ils ont hérité cela. Comme ils ont créé, comment on appelle-t-on, et l'association, certains pensent que c'est leur propriété. Même quand on essaie de les pousser à bout et de les pousser pour qu'ils donnent la chance à d'autres personnes, ils s'arrangent toujours tout en maintenant leurs proches là, juste pour avoir une forme de notoriété ou bien pour avoir cette puissance d'agir là. Mais quand vous leur posez la question, quand vous posez la question aux responsables, je vous promets que si vous prenez 10 responsables dans l'Afrique francophone et vous posez la question, est-ce que vous communiquez avec votre communauté et tout? Au moins les 10 personnes là vous diront que oui, nous communiquons très bien avec notre communauté. Donc, c'est l'opacité en fait de l'information. Quand tu n'es pas dans la même ligne de mire avec cette personne, il y a un problème. On te catalogue, on essaie de te créer tous les problèmes sur tes créations. Tout ce que tu fais, c'est que tu es mal vu. Et encore pire, c'est qu'il y a même des personnes qui ont des relations. Quand tu as un souci avec un responsable d'un user group d'un pays donné ici en Afrique, lui, dans ses relations avec les autres communautés d'Afrique francophone aussi, on essaie de te torpiller partout. Du coup, tu n'arrives pas à réagir. Donc, il y a un grand problème. Je ne sais pas comment ça va s'organiser, mais franchement, par moment, je me dis, est-ce que ce n'est pas la peine même de tout abandonner? Donc, c'est un peu ça. Merci.
Yeah, thanks for that, Constance. It's something I'm hearing a lot from your interventions and from different communities, not only in the Francophone community, but I think in several different regions. And I think it's frustrating not to have a space where this can be mediated and discussed. So we keep going over like the same issue. And I'd be really interested for us to open a discussion of how we can start creating those channels of dialogue,
si je peux
transparency.
Yeah. Jessica?
Sorry, René?
J'aimerais savoir si je peux contribuer à cette préoccupation de leader ou de fondateur omniprésent, quoi.
Yes. Just very quickly, I'm going to close the rooms in about 1 minute.
Ok, merci. Donc ici, il s'agira de peut-être voir dans quelle mesure trouver des responsabilités à ces fondateurs ou bien à ces responsables qui ne veulent pas lâcher et accompagner dans des responsabilités ceux qui veulent vraiment travailler. Voilà, donc des nouveaux leaders, leur trouver également des responsabilités autres, quitte à ce qu'ils puissent créer leur communauté, je ne sais pas trop quoi. Donc, il faudrait qu'on puisse réfléchir essentiellement sur de pareilles questions, quoi. Merci.
Thank you, Renee. So I'm hearing from you, what are the consequences for these leaders? So there needs to be some decisions if there's a mediation that doesn't work and people are not open to these discussions. What are the consequences? Okay, so I think we're bringing everybody back into the room now. We didn't pick somebody to share, but maybe Bukola, Constanza, Renee, you can decide between you who will share from our group. Welcome back, everybody. And I'll hand it over to Shino.
Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Indeed, I found it very engaging, the breakout rooms. It was fun. Okay, so room 1. Anybody from room 1 would like to represent the responses? Because we are on the same plane, Jessica. We also didn't manage to find time to finalize the representative. Ruby, would you like to take the lead to represent the points? These are already on the Padlet.
Didn't really take the notes because it's early in the morning. I was just doing some stuff. Yeah, so I don't know if you.
Okay. Yes, we see Daniel has raised his hand. Go ahead, Daniel. Daniel? Okay. Okay, so I'll start with the room 1 responses. To address the first question, most of the responses from the participants were yes.
Yeah.
I'm afraid
Daniel, are you trying to say anything?
I think go ahead, Shino, and we'll just let Daniel know that his internet is cutting out.
Okay, all right. So yes, most of the responses to the first question, does your local project and affiliate have a COC? Yes, they have. But the exception from Hausa community was because they are not still confirmed if they have the code of conduct for the community, because at times they feel that there are certain queries and circumstances they need to be looked after or they need to be taken action on, but they do not have any certain guidelines implemented so far, which makes them kind of undecisive about the solution to it. So I have asked the community members also, if they are okay with taking a lead to take this forward, maybe they can just start working on it, and they are okay with it. So maybe we can just take it as a upcoming action plan for them to, let's just help them out to have their own set of guidelines and COCs. And there is another concern, suggestion rather, to the first question. I think Iokami said that there are certain kind of situational requirements when it comes to preparation of events and organizing workshops. So we should have certain kind of template or certain kind of guidelines to follow how the COC must be customized, or how we can address the language specifically, the simpler version of languages, which will be easily understandable by the newcomers and participating Wikimedians, because at times the policies are written in very legal and high-level English language, which is a bit difficult for us to understand. And the second questions, we have received 2 responses only. So yes, to the community members, those who have already experiences and are aware of what are the existing policies they have, they also do know that how to address the violations. So it was pretty clear, and I can take it as a success of the COC team itself, that people are getting more aware of it. They know how to address the challenges they are facing. And coming to the third questions, we have responses from the Hausa community, as I mentioned. They are interested to take it forward, and maybe going forward, we can help them to do it. I have marked all the responses on Padlet. So yeah, these were the discussions point from room 1. Now I would like to pass it on to room 2. Anybody from room 2 would like to volunteer? What are the discussion points we have?
Rushina, I think you wanted to summarize for us.
Yes, sorry, I didn't know if I was in room 2 or not. So I was waiting to be sure that I was in that room. Thank you. So we had a beautiful discussion in our room, and I would just summarize it in a very in a nutshell. Like, okay, some people talked about not being aware of the UCoC in their athletes. They don't even know whether it exists. So because it's as if they don't really need it. You know, nothing is coming up in terms of issues amongst athletes working together. So they don't even know if it's there. Then some other person talked about diversity in terms of they don't understand how it is written. It's not really written in a way that people can really understand what they're talking about in terms of the UCoC, what they need to do. And, you know, so in terms of language, there's a barrier, there's a disconnect, there's a gap in terms of understanding the policies of the UCoC, that's for in the local area. Then another person talked about some people said they are working on it and trying to implement it. They are working on it. They're trying to draft it and working on it. Some talked about that. Then some other person said there's a friendly space in their community, so it's as if they don't really need it. Then there was a question that was asked that, what do you do when you have those kind of challenges, when it comes up? What do you do? If someone wrote in the chat that if you talk about it, you look like the bad guy, you know? So what do you do in terms of, who do you call on? Is it the administrators? Who do you get across to? So am I missing anything? I think I have missed some things. I think those are the things I can remember as far as we discussed. If there's any other thing, maybe Christelina can help me jump in to support me on that. I think those are the things I could remember so far.
I think one of the concerns we also talked about is that even if you have a code of conduct officially, and you know where to report things, you touched on this with the last part, that sometimes the implementation isn't working the way it is intended to. So the people who are responsible for doing things about the breach of the code of conduct are not actually doing it the way they should be. So that this is one of the real challenges, that even if you have a good code of conduct and you know where to report, what's going to happen. I think the other part was a really good idea that someone brought up of creating something similar to abstract Wikipedia, in the sense that there would be globally understandable concepts of good behavior, that perhaps also could work with visual prompts, because there were also people saying that the current code of conduct, the universal code of conduct, but also similar policies often have language that is difficult to understand, even if it's translated. And so localizing, that you already mentioned, Rushina, but also finding something that is an abstract concept for behavior, were ideas that we talked about.
Maybe I could add to this, because it was my idea, not just to make it abstract, but to make it specifically generalized, so it can be compared in between different cases, and it can involve more people than just the people who speak the language and know the context. Thank you.
Then somebody talked about having someone to read out the code of conduct during projects. So I think the person is trying to say maybe physical meetup or outreach programs where you read out the code of conduct. So there's somebody that is talking about it when we are having projects, trainings and all that. I guess that's what the person is trying to say. So I remembered that as well. Thank you.
All right. So now that we have responded to these questions on Padlet and we have a good understanding of what are the challenges we have for now, even after the UCoC is getting enforced and there are still some minor challenges left. So now we will hear to Christel. She will be sharing some best practices and possible solutions to this, maybe just to reflect on the personal experiences and identifying the best habits to deal with these challenges.
But Jessica has raised her hand first.
Yes, we just have the main room that was also a breakout room. So I wanted to hand to Bukola and Constance that are going to share. And maybe we can also hear from the group in the Philippines with Anthony. So Bukola.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. So in the main room, we really talked about, even though there is inadequate awareness, because most in project organizers, affiliates, and user group are most oftentimes more concerned about project implementation and just getting volunteers to contribute to different programs and projects. So we talked about the inadequate awareness by this user group and affiliates and even volunteer program organizers, and the need to increase the awareness among volunteers and within their community. We also talked about transparency, because we felt like even though this user group representative or affiliates are already in discussion concerning the UCoC, the friendly space policy, and every other policies that are embedded within the UCoC, they don't get to really make it known to the community members, the essence of being familiar with these policies. And most oftentimes, these policies only remain in the abstracts as abstracts. and they are not really being communicated or like transferred to the community members. So we also talked about accountability, the need for representative that had already been in discussion or hold discussions regarding UCoC to be held accountable in terms of like, what are they really doing? What is the outcome of all the previous discussions that they've had? And have they really thought of engaging their members, or thought of like helping these contributors really understand that this is the whole essence of UCoC. This is how you make use of the friendly space policy. These are some of the things that you need to do before you even embark on the projects or any online or offline trainings that you want to hold. So there is need for accountability. So we also talked about the fact that there is no local policies that are in place, or even if like these policies are in place, people are not aware of these policies. So I would like to pass over the virtual mic to Constance to just continue from where I stopped. Thank you.
Oui, merci beaucoup. Et je dois avouer que j'étais dans la bonne salle, hein, et ça a permis qu'on puisse échanger sur plusieurs thématiques et sujets. Et comme l'a dit Bokola, et j'espère bien que René aussi va être aussi de notre avis, nous avons abordé plusieurs sujets. Et la question de savoir est-ce que nous avons de codes de conduite au niveau local, et que ce soit dans le groupe, techniquement, nous n'avons pas de code de conduite au niveau local, parce que quand on lance des activités qu'on sort, les organisateurs sont plus orientés sur les objectifs à atteindre, et ce qui crée pratiquement de frustration et tout. Donc, pour la question de savoir et ce pourquoi il n'y a pas de code universel au niveau local, nous avons abordé plusieurs sujets. Chacun a tiré ses conclusions, et en regardant même les conclusions de chacun, parce que nous venons de plusieurs communautés, et nous avons même l'impression que les conclusions se rejoignent en fait. Et c'était super intéressant de voir que le démon n'est pas simplement dans une seule maison en fait. Donc, pour la question de nous avons besoin de quoi pour pouvoir mettre en place cette politique afin de permettre au nouveau de mieux se sentir dans la communauté. Nous avons aussi avancé plusieurs thématiques, et puis en première position, c'est qu'il fallait nécessairement passer à une forme de communication au niveau interne, que les preneurs de décision, c'est-à-dire les responsables des affiliés, puissent parler et puissent aborder des trucs à cœur ouvert avec plusieurs membres des communautés en question. Donc, je pense que c'est sur ces 3 points-là que nous avons abordés. Je ne sais pas si René a quelque chose à dire. Merci.
Thank you very much, Constance. For time, I think we'll see if the group in the Philippines wants to share, and then hand it over to Christel to the last bit of our session.
Anthony, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Would you like to share something from the Wiki Advocates group?
Yes, so since we are just a starting user group, although we have existed a few years ago, it was just now that we get recognized. Our existing code of conduct is based on the universal code of conduct, although we have to modify some parts of it so that can also adapt to our culture. And we may need to omit some of it because just to provide space for other community members who are not yet too comfortable with the existing guidelines. And although we are composed of a set of board members and officers, we usually consult the community members so that it would be the voice of all the volunteers instead of just the officers in the board who would create those rules. And as for the process of where to report an incident or an issue, each member is oriented with the different wiki projects, and they are knowledgeable about the functions of the administrators, wherein they can report if there are some harassment on the projects. And for other affiliates, they are also informed about the function of the affiliations committee. And for the internal problems, we usually follow a step-by-step procedure to report those incidents, and grievance committee is usually created to handle such issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anthony. I think I'll take it from there to just go to the best practices, because we are already a bit, time has run away a bit from us. I will just highlight some things. I heard from some people that they are not sure about whether their group has a code of conduct or their project, and also that they don't really care because they're feeling at the moment everything is going well. So I think that's the best time when things are going well to look up the policies that exist, and also to look up where to report things on the project you're working on or with the group you're working with. Because if you are already stressed, it's much more difficult to find the facts. So going in early and finding out these things, and also perhaps having the possibility to fix some things, to suggest changes in times when it's quiet, is a good idea. But don't only rely on reporting things. Also think about taking good care of yourself, which means talking to other people inside and outside the movement, not only reporting something, but just asking for help in different places, be it friends, family who will support you and just, help you calm down if things affect you, or even being going to a mental health expert, going to a professional, because stress from harassment can seriously impact your health. So don't be afraid, ask for help. Ask for help also perhaps with Wikimedians from other projects, from other regions. Go talk about things in a way that doesn't dramatize, but that gets you help. And remember, the goal of a report is not necessarily punishment for the perpetrator, but safety for the victim. So also when sometimes you are asked what kind of consequence would you like to see, really think about what would make you feel safer and not what would be the right punishment for that other person. But also be aware, not every report brings the desired results. And so again, ask for help, look for people who can support you, even if that person who breached the code of conduct is still around and you still feel unsafe. If you feel things are not handled by the community, or you feel a breach of the code of conduct is so serious that it cannot be handled by community because it involves real life threats, because it involves very, very serious harassment, remember, there's also the Wikimedia Foundation who can handle those kind of things much better. And so you can also go and ask for help from the Wikimedia Foundation if you write to ca@wikimedia.org. So again, ca@wikimedia.org is the place to turn to if you think harassment has reached a point that your community cannot handle it. It's dangerous also perhaps for people to engage with the harasser or the person who does the privacy violations or other things. Then this is the place where you can try to get help, but also be aware that this is a slow process, which brings me back to look for other people, for peers who might support you in the time. Look for other kinds of help, ask for help wherever you can find help until something has been done by either your local administrators, the local affiliate, or the Wikimedia Foundation. This was a very short run through the best practices. I think we have very short time for questions. And yeah, we just saw the question slide for a short second. There's also a Padlet where you can leave questions that I will also try to answer later if we don't have the time now.
Can I ask a quick question over here?
Please do.
Yes, please feel free.
Like
yes,
previously when, thank you. So previously when we were discussing about this implementation of UCoC and the reporting thing especially, so one of the major challenge we have seen that people are not reporting serious violations because they want to remain themselves anonymous. Even they don't trust to share their informations with the persons who are sitting over and taking care of the UCoC things. So, like in previous discussion, people asked that whether we have any completely anonymous reporting system is there or not. So I just wanted to know whether it is updated or still the process of reporting is the same.
Thank you very much for that important question. At the moment, as far as I know, the system to report completely anonymously has not been set up yet, but the foundation is working on such a system. So it's not there yet, but you can also always create a new user account and report things through this new and then completely anonymous user account. I think that is at the or an anonymous email address. I think that is the only way at the moment how you can report anonymously. And you could mention that you just set up the account or just set up the email and don't want to give your account or your real name.
Thank you for the question, TSG, and thank you, Christel, for responding to it. We will just take last question. I saw, Love, you had raised your hand. You have anything to ask? Can you hear me, Love?
As there seems to be a bit of a problem with the connection, I will take the question from the chat. So the question is, what recourse do I have in times of conflict? Recourse, I understand. I saw that it was also posted in French originally. I take it, what will happen to the person? So you can report problems usually on notice boards. That depends on the project you're working on, or directly to an administrator. And usually the consequence will be that the person is either warned not to do these things again. They might be blocked for a certain time to make that even clearer that this action, what they did, was not okay. They might be also told not to interact with you again. Interaction bans are used on some projects, not on all of them. And there might be also partial blocks. So that means someone might be blocked only from editing certain topics or certain pages. That also doesn't exist on all wikis, but several wikis use this option to quite a good effect, that someone is not allowed to, for example, edit those pages where they misbehaved, but could work still on other topics. Someone might be blocked from a discussion namespace, but should still be able to contribute in the main space, or so, just from a certain topic. I hope that answered your question. Over to you, Gino.
All right, with that last set of question and answers, we will move to the closer. And I sincerely thank you everyone for making time today and participating, joining us for the Learning Clinic today. I hope you found this useful, and I just request to have one last feedback, quick feedback before we leave. We know that we are going 1 minute over already, but I'll just quickly paste the Mentimeter link in the chat. And I request everybody to go ahead with this feedback link and support us with your feedback so that we can proceed with future improvements. It is a Mentimeter link in the chat. You can just quickly take it. It will just take 1 minute or maybe less than that to feed your feedbacks. And to Christel, I am noting down the questions in feedback section on the Etherpad, plus they're in the Padlet link. You can just address them later. So Christel, there's a question to you in the chat. Would you like to take it now, or you can do it later?
I can perhaps quickly speak on it while people fill out the Mentimeter service. So if things happened online, there are the diff links. People can look at how things developed, can read up the discussion, and the administrators can judge from what is there to see. But if there is a complaint that is connected to things that happened either in other spaces where things get deleted, things are no longer visible in some chats or something, administrators just will to have apply their own common sense. They will perhaps ask clarifying questions to find out, is this a real complaint? They will also have perhaps some knowledge if there were other similar complaints about the person, compare things. All those things might happen. That is really up to the judgment of the person who is receiving the complaint.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Christel. So we have mapped all the questions on the Etherpad as well, and you can find all the resources we have shared today. All these presentations and learning resources will be uploaded to the Commons, and you will be notified post the session with emails with all the links available. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. And thank you, Christel, for this wonderful session. Thank you, Jessica, for the support. And thank you, Anthony, for hosting the in-person room, the own breakout room for Philippines. Thank you so much, everyone.
I also want to thank all of you for listening, and I really encourage you to also dive into the small package that we created for you to read up more on the policies that exist and to also fill in other policies that we might have missed or policies that are important for your local spaces that we don't even know about. So again, thank you all. And yes, let's keep talking about this. Let's keep raising awareness and let's improve policies. Let's improve the working atmosphere on all the projects.
Thank you.